Hello, everyone. How are you? I've watched the season 2 finale of Brea, part 1, and now I just finished watching part 2. Great way to end the season 2. Questions were answered. More questions have arisen. There was a death. That was a shocker. Then a surprise ending, which was cool. The part 1 of the season 2 finale starts off with the aftermath of the explosion. Everyone survived the explosion. Levi's badly hurt. He was trapped under some debris. And they go back to camp. And everybody's talking like, great, we're stuck here permanently. They're blaming Levi. They're pissed off at him for blowing up the tower out. Being pissed off was still apparently, well, I can figure out that James and his crew was the ones that killed his wife and daughter 10 years ago in the past there or something. And Levi leaves. Ty goes with him to talk to him because everybody's mad at him. So Sam and them decide, well, okay, we're going to stay here permanently. We need a better safe campsite than the one we're at now. And secondly, we need a permanent leader. Instead of having Eve, Gavin, Sam, and Lucas be like co-leaders, we should vote on a permanent one. But before they do that, Veronica and Gavin talk to Cyrus. And Cyrus says, those coordinates, I figured out where they go, where they lead to. They lead to a cave that's 15 miles away, apparently. Like 15 or possibly like 18 miles away, give or take, he says. There's a third portal. And they're like, there's a third portal to take to go home. So yes, there was one in the mountain which closed permanently. The one that was in the Lazarus Tower, which just got blown to shit. So he said this one was a secret portal that was discovered in a cave that the scientists that came down here many years ago, studied, worked on it as a power source, but it was unstable. And instead of getting James's dirty hands on it, and the people in the Lazarus Tower, the other group of scientists that rebelled against the Lazarus group, kept this portal a secret. And only select few people knew the location, including the person that made this journal. So everybody in the group decides, we got way home again, let's go. So everybody in the group leaves. Except Levi and Ty, because they don't know what's going on because they had left. Then it shows Levi walking in the clearing. Ty catches up to him. Then Ty has a nosebleed and all that because he found out that James lied to him. He temporarily fixed his cancer, but he has to take pills to keep it from coming back. And just keep loyal to him, which I still think you're going to find out in season 3, folks, that Ty's the one that killed Caroline, Gavin's mother. Because remember, the favor he owned James. So Ty's mad at Levi. Then Ty decides to go back to camp. And then Levi's approached by Kara. And you find out she survived the explosion in the tower. She said, me and a few others were at an outpost that's abandoned. It has some supplies, but not everything we need to survive. She said Cyrus, before he left the scientist group and went rogue, stole a cache of supplies. And he has it. She said, it's at the camp. I know where it was. I saw him bury it, but it's risky for me to go back there because I'll be captured. And if you want to make things right, she said, I have those pills Ty needs. So she dangles that over Levi's head. So Levi digs up the cache of supplies, folks. Cyrus confounds him, finds out that Kara's alive, the one that shot him, and tried to kill him. So Cyrus is like, okay, I'm going with you to kill that bitch. And Levi's like, whoa. She's got Ty's pills. I want to make up for sticking everybody back home, not knowing they found it possibly on the way home because he had left, remember? He feels bad for what he did. So Cyrus was like, okay, I'll help you get those pills, then I'm killing her. So they go and meet up with Kara at a secret location. They meet up with her, and of course she's a backstabber, and she appears with 2 soldiers. They go to shoot Levi dead, and then they find out the stuff in that secret crate cache is these power rods. And she knows the location of that third machine, folks, that third portal. She said those power it up. She said in case the power is dead. She said because it has been sealed and closed for many years, the power might be, at 0%. All of a sudden, arrows fly out of a brush to kill the guards. They stab and one gets hits Kara in the shoulder. Cyrus pops out of the thick brush. He killed the two guys. And all of a sudden, Ty shows up with Pebble and her people. Ty gets his pills back. He pops some of those suckers right off the get-go. But he's very trustworthy if you think those are the pills, because it could be fake pills, right? Then Ty and Levi decide, well, let's go back to camp and tell the other people that we found about with this third portal and this stuff of account. These power rods can help power it up and get everybody home. Then it shows the other group. The other group's on the journey already to that secret location. Along the way, the group comes across a couple people dead. They've been chewed up big time, like claw marks, half the skin's missing, bite marks, and like one person's bite, like half his face was bitten right off. And something killed these people. As they're looking through the murder site, a kid appears. Takes off, they chase after the kid. Scott stops the kid. Says, it's okay, we're not here to hurt you. But what happened back there? And the kid shook it up, and then Scott notices a pocket watch. He picks it up, and on the back of it's a logo, and he's like, holy shit. Everybody's like, what? He said, this is weird. Oh, what, Scott? What's weird? He says, this logo on this pocket watch. This is the same logo I was having a job interview for before I got sucked down here in 10,000 BC. He said it's a company that studies like back in the caveman days, stuff like that, like history and stuff. So he asked the kid, like, where did you get this? And the kid says, my people worked here. So somehow that company ended up down here. So Scott thinks some of the survivors that fell down the sinkhole worked for that company, and they knew, and they probably were studying the land, the saber-tooth tigers, and that for research. The kid warns them not to go that way, and that's the way to go. And they say, why? What killed them is that way. The kid's all shooken up. The kid has an asthma attack, but they find the inhaler, and the kid's fine, by the way. And he draws a picture on the rock, and it shows this big, giant lizard creature. And he said, that is that way. And they go for the clearing, and guess what's in the clearing? A whole bunch of those damn red trees. Which, by the way, that part, somebody made a mistake in that show. Because he said those trees are only grown in caves. These are out in the clear open. There ain't no cave. They're not in caves. Somebody messed up there, folks, that made this show. And those are the same trees that, by the way, Gavin has a vision that Eve dies under one of them. So they're skeptical of going ahead in the journey because of this and the creature. So half the group decides, we're going to stay back here where you guys go ahead and make sure it's safe. So part 1 of the season 2 finale ended with Gavin, Eve, Izzy, Josh, Sam, Riley entering the cave. They're attacked by the giant lizard. The lizard swats Gavin away with his towel. Then Eve stabs it with her wooden spear and scares it off. And the show ends with Gavin, and he's like on top of a rock. And there's a big, huge wooden like spike thing sticking out of his body. There's blood everywhere. That was a cool way to end the part 1. Part 2 opens up with Sam trying to pull Gavin off the spike, but he stops because Gavin's in pain. More blood's pouring out, so Sam's like, oh, great. So he's trying to figure out how to, save Gavin's life. So all of a sudden, James appears with a gun. You find out James ambushed Levi and Ty on the way here because he was befalling them and has those power rods. And I was thinking, son of a bugger, I hope Levi and Ty's all right. All of a sudden, from behind, Izzy just smokes her granddad's ass, knocks his ass out cold. I don't know what she knew, but she smacked him good. James comes to, he's all tied up, and they're trying to get the door in the cave to open up to get in the portal to go home. So James says, they finally force the door open, and James says, I am the only one to know how to power up the machine. So, of course, that James untie him. He powers up the machine, but the portal turns up, and he's like, oh, shit, this portal's red. I'm like, what's that mean? Like, what's the difference between the red and green ones? He said, the green ones, he said, we and Lazarus had a chance to study, work on it, to make it safe, even though it's still called sinkholes. The red one, is unstable. No one's had a chance to work on this to perfection it more. He said, this is really bad portal. He said, it's tricky. He said, but I can set the coordinates for everyone to go home. All of a sudden, folks, Gavin dies. He dies. He bled out. He bled to death. But before he died, he talked to Eve. He talked to Izzy. He talked to Josh. And he talked to James. And he asked James, don't portray the others and go back in time to fix your marriage in the past to cause my son and my daughter to cease to exist because he would never meet Eve, right? So James, before Gavin dies, says, I'll do what's right. That's all he says. So Eve figures out a risky plan. She says, what if we use that machine, that portal, to go back a few hours in the past to stop us from entering this cave, because now we know there's a giant lizard in here and it's this lair, and that way Gavin won't die. So James sets the coordinates to 4 hours from now. Izzy and Eve go through the portal. They end up 4 hours backwards in time. And then you see the clip where James ambushed Ty and Levi, and you find out James shot Levi in the leg before he took off with those power rods, which was good things. They actually had to use those power rods, folks, to power up the machine. So even on them, make it back and stop past Gavin and them from entering the cave. Then everybody's fine. Gavin's not dead now because he knows about the giant lizard. So they waited, and apparently they waited, and the lizard went away, and then they went in the cave. So Gavin's alive now. Whew! Because he's a main character. To kill him off already, and then he's alive, which was cool. By the way, as this is going on, the rest of the group are just hanging out, basically. Then all of a sudden, the portal starts powering down, losing power. And James says, something is blocking full power, he said. Split up, find out what's causing the machine to power down. Everybody splits up, and Juriel, one of the survivors, which is not even a main cast member on the show, a main cast guy, finds the problem. A fallen tree has landed on one of the machines outside. So with Lucas's help and Veronica's help to get the tree pulled off the machine, the portal powers right up again to full power. And all of a sudden, as everybody's outside talking about fine, going home back to 2023, they're happy. Lucas wants to stay, and Veronica tries to convince him not to stay, to go back. And Lucas says, I don't want to go back. If I go back to 2023, I'm a drug dealer. I'm in trouble with the law here. I'm a leader. I've saved people. I can help people. So Veronica says, I'm pregnant. And Lucas is like shocked. He's like, whoa. And Veronica says, seriously, that's the only thing you're going to say is whoa. So Lucas decides to raise the kid of Veronica. They're going to go back to 2023, even though he doesn't want to. Roddy finds out that Sam, who's been gung-ho to go back home, all of a sudden doesn't want to go back home again. He's torn about it. And she finds out because him and his, Roddy's father and mother was going to get a divorce. So she said, well, maybe now you can go back home and fix the marriage. So again, Sam's like, okay, I'm on the bag wagon, we're going home again. That guy is like a ping pong machine. One episode, he doesn't want to go back home. Now he does. Now you know why. The kid hands Scott a photo and says, that's my mother. The kid's telling him. Which, by the way, I'm confused. Is this kid a guy or a girl? Because I am confused as hell. The kid's called Peter, but you can't really tell if it's a boy or a girl because the way they have the kid dressed up. I was confused to find in the end of the episode, you find out it's a boy. So I'm like, okay, figure that out now. That was good to know. The photo he hands Scott, is a picture of him and his mother. And Scott recognizes that it's a military base. But the kid says the picture is here. was taken here. And Scott says, whoa, the pistol was taken here? And the kid says, yes. So apparently when this kid and his mother and these other survivors that found this sinkhole separated by other people came across his military base. So I'm curious where that is. And Scott's also kind of curious about that logo of that company that he was getting interviewed for, by the way. That this kid's mother owns the company, by the way, and she's alive. All of a sudden, season 2 ends with a major awesome ending. James, that son of a bitch, knocks Gavin out from behind, and does knock him out. He hits him from behind with the pistol. And he changes the coordinates of the portal from 2023 to the timeline where he wants to go back home to fix his marriage, which will cause Gavin, Eve never to meet, which will cause Eve and Josh cease to exist, and cause utter eruptions of the timeline. Like Josh would never find Riley, fall in love with Sam's daughter, stuff like that. All of a sudden, Gavin gets up and tackles his father, James. They have a huge fight. I mean, man, they were throwing some bros. And James is an older man, but he kicked Gavin's ass for a little while, folks. Then all of a sudden, the gun goes off, bullets ricocheting throughout the room, and the bullets hit these parts of the machine and hits the portal. The bullets do. All of a sudden, James goes to step through the portal, and Gavin's on the other side of it with the gun, and he shoots his own father twice and kills him. But before James dies, he says, "You think I'm a bad person? Wait till you meet your sister." And that's how he dies. And I'm shocked that Gavin has a sister, and Gavin never knew he had a sister. So he's shocked as well. And if James is bad and the sister's even worse than him, that's not a good thing. Season 2 ends. Everybody's going to getting ready to go for the portal to go home, and all of a sudden, the portal goes haywire because the bullets did some damage. And it still was unstable. All of a sudden, up in the sky, all these different ruptures open up cracks of yellow, red lightning bolts. And it's different timelines, because on the computer screen it's shown like 1986, 2002, 66 million BC, 20,000 BC, 1979, a whole bunch of different time periods. Open it up. The portal explodes. Eve gets sucked through the portal in the room. Sam, Josh, and Raleigh try to save her, but it was too late. And the whole sky opens up with the ruptures. The season 2 ends with Gavin, Izzy, and Josh. They're all alone in the clearing. Everybody's gone. And they're like looking for people. And they come across this huge footprint. And a freaking T-Rex shows up, folks, and chases them. And that's how season 2 ends. So it looks like those ruptures in the sky have caused dinosaurs to come through the gate. They've come down now. I am curious if the other survivors were sucked in different time periods. That's why I think happened, or they took off, or stuff like that. That's why it leaves you hanging. Let me know below if you've watched the season 2 finale of Brea. Do you think that the survivors are stuck in different time periods because of the unstable portal that they used to go home? Or is like the stuff in those time periods here on this island now? And there's a friggin' T-Rex chasing Gavin, Izzy, and Josh. I don't know how they're going to get away from that T-Rex. Stay safe, everybody. Too sweet. Bye.